Welcome to 80s Toys from My Attic, bringing you the best toys from the best decade. We're back. We did the first 5 episodes. You've seen Skeletor, you've seen He-Man, you've seen, what else did you see? We saw Photon, we saw LGN wrestlers. We saw a lot of stuff so far. We saw Transformers and GoBots. But now we're about to talk about maybe my favorite all-around toy, like Star Wars. Hands down, my favorite movie. Went with the action figures. He-Man, the cartoon, the action figures. These are my big three: Star Wars, He-Man, and my third one's G.I. Joe. And the main reason why is, man, that cartoon had to be my favorite. I liked He-Man cartoons, don't get me wrong, Masters Universe, but G.I. Joe cartoons were a different level. They were just a different caliber to me than He-Man. And they also, the comic books. I collected comic books, and the main one I collected when I was younger, I had Batman, I had this and that, but the main one I had every one of every time it came out was G.I. Joe. I loved my G.I. Joe comic books. I fell in love with them. 7-Eleven on Cuthbert, right next to the Acme. My mom would be shopping. I'd go get G.I. Joe whenever it came out, and I loved it. So, Brian, what was your experience with G.I. Joe growing up? You just one of your favorites, obviously, right?
Definitely one of my favorites. And when I got back into collecting, that was one of the first things I started doing. Because you remember, I'd be telling you at night, I just got me a killer whale. I need shipwrecks. And I was drunk and I bought 5 shipwrecks, and only one of them was actually the figure complete in itself. The rest were broken.
One of the funniest stories I tell people about eBay is that Brian here got drunk one night and was bidding on shipwrecks and didn't realize how many he bidded on. And he ended up getting 5 delivered to his house. But the funniest part of the story, like he said, is one poly. He bought 5 shipwrecks by accident and only one poly. Well, at least you got one poly. That's something. But that's hilarious. That's one of my favorite eBay stories ever. And right around that time, I was going crazy with He-Man. So I was very cautious after that story. I'm like, oh my God, please don't have 10 Fistos come to my house. God, what would they say? So anyway, Jork. Oh, first of all, let me welcome everybody. I didn't want Brian. Welcome back, buddy. You haven't been back since Transformers. We did Skeletor, and we did Transformers. You started the page with me. We already introduced that. We've been long-hood childhood friends. Paul behind the scenes, same neighborhood, long-time childhood friends. We're all back. This is like episode 1 all over again. But we're grizzled veterans. Look at us. And then there's, of course, Jork. Hi, Jork, who has made quite a name for himself over the past 5 episodes. Not always a good one. So anyway, I put this up on the Facebook page about a week or 2 ago, and I said, listen, we got 5 upcoming episodes. I need some help. And this is what we came up with. And there are so many great G.I. Joes. I had trouble coming up with top 5 Skeletor henchmen. Don't get me wrong, but that was pretty, not like this. This is a lot more difficult. There were some runners up for the top 5. Even with NES games, there were some runners up that could have been 6. But this one, I felt hard pressed. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Because you said, oh, we'll come up with 5. I said, go ahead. Let me see you do it. You couldn't do it. You kept naming like 7. So, Jork, hit the next slide, please. We changed it. It's top 10.
Awesome.
We might have cheated a little bit on this one, but we had to. I just couldn't. There's certain people I couldn't leave out top 5. Now, what we did do is they're not necessarily in order. They kind of are, but the top 5 that we do are the top 5 we decided on. But instead of having a bunch of runner-ups, we really did put 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in here. And I got to tell you, 6 and 7 could easily be number 5. And you'll see when you go through here. So, Brian, let's kick it off. Let's go to our number 10 figure. Dr. Mindbender. What a character he is. Now, first of all, and you're going to see, I'm going to break out a lot of the figures today. This one is connected, full torso. Because you know these figures, they're horribly made after all these years, and you have to replace the band because they're disconnected. I'm sure you have a lot of legs and a lot of heads, just like I do. But I have the complete. You just have to fix them, and if the quarantine lasts a little bit longer, I promise I'm going to fix these. But Mindbender, he's in full effect. He's strutting around. He's shirtless with a robe. He's got a classic professional wrestling Cobra robe on. Now, this guy was very cool in the comics. He was cool in the cartoon. He's an orthodontist at one point who would experiment with stuff that eventually made him go crazy, and he became part of the terrorist organization. He kind of reminds me of like all of Cobra. I don't mean to get really historical here, but they're terrorists. They were kind of like the Nazi organization. This guy was like Dr. Mengele back in the day, doing experiments on genetics and everything, and which eventually created our number 9 action figure. But it's got a lot of like maniacal, especially a comic book. It was a little more serious than the cartoon, but there was some undertones of that, of some serious tyranny issues going on with all these terrorists. So Brian, tell me what you know about Mindbender. What's your take on him? Give me the background.
All right, real quick. Name's Dr. Original name was Dr. Brian Bender, and he was an orthodontist. He was looking for a way to cure pain for people in the chair, so he created a brainwave simulator to, like, while you're in a dentist chair, to take your mind away from it. And he tested it out on himself, and what happened was he tested it out. He started getting all these like rage motions, like his mind just went complete evil. And all of a sudden he started studying more about the science stuff, and boom, you got Mindbender. He's a scientist that does cloning. He does toxic experiments. He does anything he can do to world domination.
Horrible human being. But such a cool character in the code. Like, we put him at number 10, but when you talk about experiments and stuff, he's very important to Cobra Commander. Like, just important, because you need a guy like that who's, doing crazy shit like that.
Sing Nothing Compares to You?
Did he sing Nothing Compares to You? Do you think that's Sinead O'Connor?
It's not?
Well, she has the same mustache.
Nowadays, I'm sure, she might. Dr. Mindbender doing a rendition of Nothing Compares to You. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, actually. I'm not going to rule that out. That might actually work. And I'm looking back at Sinead O'Connor, she was a little mind bent, wasn't she? She went a little off her rocker towards the end there too. But so if you're watching this, Sinead O'Connor, as always, subscribe. So that's why I forgot to tell everybody at the beginning. Listen, subscribe. You see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the YouTube screen? Just hit it. But you know what? I've been forgetting to tell people. You got to log into YouTube. You got to log in. If you don't log in, you're banging a pointless button. And that's what I found out the hard way. I figured that out on my own with a friend of mine. But anyway, so subscribe, please. If you're enjoying the videos, hook us up. So that's number 10, Dr. Mindbender. And you know what Dr. Mindbender did? He was a very integral part in creating number 9. Dork, show him to us. Serpentor. So this guy, super powerful. I mean, one of the best cartoon episodes there were, and comic book. Like, the cartoon and the comic book didn't always match up, and in this case it actually did in a lot of ways. This is another one of those 5-parters, man. They got Genghis Khan, they got Napoleon, they got a whole bunch of guys. They even got your boy Sergeant Slaughter in him, right? There's a little Sergeant Slaughter in Serpentor, and I would have put him higher on the list, but it's not that he came super late, but he was a little later, and he was more of a thorn in Cobra Commander's side. When I think of Cobra, I think of people. Now they're all trying to backstab Cobra Commander. The poor guy's getting assassinated in the combo, all sorts of. But this guy really wanted to run the organization, and very important. But I put him at, he's top 10, but I put him at number 9 because in some ways I feel like he was almost anti-Cobra, because he was trying to take it over too much on his own. Tell me about Serpentor, Brian. What do you?
Exactly like you said, Mike. He tried to take it over. It's like, I think his file card originally said like Cobra Emperor. Like, basically when he walked in, yes, Cobra Commander got a big like deduction, basically saying like, that's okay. We don't need you here in the office. Why don't you go out in the field and work with the guys?
It's so demeaning, degrading.
But and like you said, he does have like Napoleon, Caesar, Hannibal DNA, Attila, and here's one for you. In the comic books, he had Storm Shadow's DNA,
yes,
not Sergeant Slaughter's.
It was different in the comics. You're right, because Storm Shadow was actually dead at that point, right? Mindbender brought him back to life, I believe. Is that how the story? I can't remember exactly.
I don't know. Storm Shadow is
but they took his DNA. I know that.
Yeah, another character to discuss. But
we'll get to Storm Shadow. You're right.
But with Serpentor, the comic books really outlined his arrogance or his ambitions, and he was extremely arrogant. And like you said, there was one like the
Look
Cobra
at him here,
Civil War.
Brian. Look at him.
Yeah,
They're just getting tombstones rated at this point. Destro and Mindbender. They're getting ready for the big show.
and it's like, and like you said, it's like in the comic books, it's like Cobra Commander pretty much made them to create Serpentor because Cobra Commander never liked Mindbender, kept calling him Brainbender, and when
He,
not
he
get
was
that
rude. Yeah.
yeah, and then it's like he would call Destro Chrome Dome, didn't have no respect, and they got tired of just losing simple battles.
Yeah.
So it's time where the people wanted a new boss, and Serpentor was the new boss.
He did. He disrespected mine. He called them all names and everything, and they went out and they created a bigger, better boss, is what they thought. But I loved in the cartoon how they threw Slaughter into him, and that was kind of the reason that Serpentor was a front line type of guy. Like Cobra Commander was, he's not getting out there and fighting. He was a behind the desk type of organizer, right? Whereas Serpentor would go out there and fight because he had that Sergeant Slaughter in him, and that was. That they were one tomb short, so they're like, let's put Slaughter in there. And even members, Cobra Commander tried to screw that up. Remember, he put a little mutant gene in there to make the monster pop out. That was the cartoon is so awesome, that's what pisses me off about the movies. The movies are so bad. If you just use, remember Mass Device, the 5-part series, and then you got the Weather Dominator, then you got Serpentor. Those are all movies. All you have to do is you want to put The Rock in there and Channing Tatum and whoever. I love all those actors, but you need a good story, and they didn't have that for these. You go to the comic books, you go to the cartoons, you got a blockbuster movie, and what they come up with? Oh, it was horrible. But that's another story altogether. So that's Serpentor. Now, number 8 is God. He's one of my favorite figures of all time. There he is, Firefly, and here he is. He's another one he lost his legs, but I can kind of put them on him. But yeah, like that's G.I. Joe though. Like those bands are so horrendous. But this guy was so cool. He was one of my favorite. I didn't see him a lot in the comics. I didn't see him a lot in the cartoon. He was almost like Boba Fett until Boba Fett became Boba Fett. Remember Boba Fett got big from the Christmas special before you even saw him, and like that was Firefly to me. I thought Firefly was unbelievably cool. First of all, anybody with like that's a ninja, you're talking Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Quick Kick. Anybody that's a ninja, I always thought was pretty cool. But Firefly had that gray camouflage on, but what he was really known for was blowing shit up. He would blow everything up. You need something blown up, Firefly's your guy, right? What do you got on Firefly?
Actually, funny you should say that. In the later on run in the comic books, they did connect them to a ninja clan, and he's actually really a ninja.
Same clan as Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes?
No, a different clan.
Different clan.
I forget the name, but it was one where his father owed debts to like a ninja clan or something,
and
so that was gave him his son.
That was later on in the comics, like
yeah.
Much later. Okay, because I don't remember that from my comics. So that's awesome, and I love that they put him in the movie because there's so many other characters they could have thrown in the movie that were bigger than him, but he deserved it. Like he was just cool, and the actor that plays him, he's pretty cool too. He's in a lot of different movies and whatnot, Dexter and stuff like that. But and he's a cool actor.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're up. I'm sorry.
But like you said, like going back, like when they retconned everything, like in the comic books with the Ninja Clan, with the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, his headman or Third Master being killed in the comic books. Here it was Firefly that hired Zartan to kill the Ninja Clan's leader.
We're getting back to Storm Shadow again.
It always
comes back to Storm Shadow. But no, yeah, I wanted to talk about that when we got to around Storm Shadow, the Hard Master, which is that's the best. You remember there was a Hard Master and a Soft Master
and a Silent Master.
Yeah, I mean Silent Master, that's a little bit better, but the Hard Master and Soft Master, I'm thinking, is that really like what we want to call our masters in a ninja clan? I don't know. I would have come up with the Tough Master and the weak. I don't know, the Quiet Master, the Silent Master, the Hard Master, and the Soft Master. Okay.
And we were talking earlier about like I mean, look at the accessories he came with. He did come with like some cool accessories. His
Oh
backpack,
yeah,
his
absolutely.
backpack folded down. He had a little Craftsman set there with
Yeah,
all his exploding
he was
stuff.
ready. Yeah.
I mean, he has a friggin' submachine gun, and then he has the phone. He has a cell phone. It's like, sorry, honey, I want to be late tonight because I'm gonna blow some shit up, and then I'll see you afterwards.
He wasn't making excuses to his wife. He just flat out told her, he said, listen, I got to blow shit up. I'll be back later. Um, so that's Firefly. Awesome. Um, I love all these guys so much. So number 7, it's man, Tomax and Zaymont. These guys were so cool. I just these are one of the guys I had trouble not putting in the top 5 because they were huge in the cartoons. They so Zaymont was the one with the scar, and that was really the only distinguishing thing. Like you could see their hairs parted separately. They would finish each other's sentences. They were like greatly connected, but they were more businessmen, right? They ran extensive enterprises, which was the Cobra front. It was like what Via Mia was to the mafia back in the day, right? It was like we knew what was going on with Cobra, and we knew what was going on with extensive enterprises. But they would come in with their business suits. They try to use their intellect for the for terrorism, where the other people, a lot of them were brute force. But these two smart Alex, they would come in, and they were some suave dudes walking in making shit happen. So tell me about Tomax and Zaymont. What's your take on them?
Oh, you left out one of my favorite parts.
Uh-oh.
They were the leaders of the Crimson.
The Crimson Guard, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even say they're the Crimson Twins, like the Thompson twins. They were the Crimson Twins, a lot cooler than the Thompson twins. But yeah, they were the leaders of the Crimson Guard, which is another great action figure. A lot of people said them, not top 10 though, but cool action figure though. Cool action figure. Carry on, Brian.
They
But,
look like
yeah.
Dylan and Brandon from 90210.
You know, Dork, usually I get very angry at you because you say stupid shit on the regular. But tonight, I agree with everything Dork.
Yeah.
Brian, do you disagree with Dork at this point?
No, he's on a roll. Sometimes I'm
Man.
wondering, like, you have Dwarf. What am I doing here?
What do we need? What do we need either of us for? Dork is on. Before he's telling us low budget, he's making fun of rocks. But I think he's on to something tonight. Dork, I don't have the Cabbage Patch with me, little James, and I don't have Alf with me tonight, so I can't even threaten you. But I don't have to threaten you. You're right. That looks like Brandon and Dylan. I told you they were suave, and coolest guys in the zip code. Those Crimson Twins. Very good. Now, Brian, tell us. Elaborate on what Dwarf just said.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's a reason why, like, if you look at them, they're all like prim and proper. They were like the corporate face of Cobra. They studied all military strategy, all stuff like that. But one of the best things they knew was they were into corporate propaganda. They knew how to like the stock market. They knew how to like pressure people to sell what they wanted, maneuver the money, hide the money.
Yeah.
But
and it never keyed people in when they were like in these business meetings that they would say, you need to sell. And then the other one would say immediately. Like they finish each other's sentences. Like the other guy on the other side of the desk wasn't like, these two seem a little shady. What the hell? What's going on with you two? But they're like, no, these are great businessmen. They just happen to know each other's thoughts and finish each other's thoughts all the time. But no, they were so cool. I really like Tomax and Zaymont. I thought they were cool. I don't remember them in the comic book as much as some of the others. They probably came in a little bit later, but they made appearances. But they were definitely in the cartoon all the time.
Yeah, in the cartoon, I remember them. I know I'm going to get this name wrong. I think they were like Corsican brothers, where if you like punched one, the other one felt the pain.
They felt the pain, yeah.
And then if they were separated too long, the other ones would start wigging out a little bit.
Right,
right.
Right.
They had a sense, like there was one episode where they had one in prison and he could actually sense where he was in a building.
It was a benefit and it was a big hindrance sometimes. Yeah, imagine getting in a fight and you're kicking somebody's ass, but your brother's losing. You're losing. Because you're getting hit, and he's getting hit, you're feeling it. So if there was good and bad with being a crimson twin back then, but very, very cool figures, very cool characters in general. Number six as like, I had a hard time not putting her in the top 5. she's Cobra Commander's really number two. If you think about it.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
well, excuse me, pardon me, Brian, was that you?
No, I think that came
That
from
was
the sound
Twerk.
booth.
Twerk was you got a little thing for the Baroness?
Carry on.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry to interrupt you up there, Dwark. So Dwark has a thing for the Baroness, as did most of the GI Joe. Like she especially in the movies, the as bad as the movies were, they played the Baroness to a key in those movies. Sienna Miller, right? That's who played.
Mhm.
Um, to a T. Like she would kind of lure Duke and the boys. Like that was her key. It was like she had dual personality. She had the beauty, but she also had that terroristic side to her that was just like crazy, and she was always manipulating people. And great with guns. I mean, like, so she was very important to Cobra. Had a hard time not putting her in the top five, and I might even switch her with number five. But it's kind of like Evil Lynn. Like, it's not everybody's favorite because we're all guys, and Baroness doesn't tend to, you don't tend to lean towards the female toys. I'm not trying to be sexist, but that's just how it was growing up. But don't get me wrong, I have the Baroness, and it's a great figure. But I think when you're a kid, I think a lot of times when you're a boy, you're always leaning towards those fireflies, those guys that are just blowing up shit because you relate more to them because you're a boy. But great character, sadistic in the comics, just crazy. And Destro's main squeeze. So, Brian, tell me, I went on about the Baroness a little too long. Dwark definitely went on about the Baroness too long in his own way. Um, Brian, tell me about the Baroness.
First of all, I think Barons would probably kick the work's ass, but
I don't think
uh,
Dwark would last a second with the Baroness. She looks like a dominatrix, right? I mean, let's be honest. I
but
don't Dwark. I don't think you're in for a very delightful evening.
Jack, you're right. She was Cobra's intelligence officer. Let that sink in. Intelligence, and she was like your cream of the crop, femme fatale back then.
Hmm.
She was, when it comes to Cobra, she was qualified in driving the HISS tank, driving the planes, driving the helicopters,
He's also with
everything.
the vehicles. You're right. I forgot
She
about that.
trained in all the spy stuff. She's a saboteur, just like before they called Firefly and she wanted to get stuff done, she did it herself. She's an expert in psychological warfare, cryptology, which is like, like breaking codes.
Code breaker.
And
Yeah.
she's also another one that's also a biochemist. She grew up in a real rich family environment, and she was one of the, like, she was introduced in the comic books first and then pushed in the toy lines. She was
Right.
introduced
That's right.
like in the second comic book, and she paved the way for Destro to be introduced. And like you said, she had a thing for him. She never let Cobra Commander know about that when they introduced Destro in the comic books. And then when he was introduced, she's like, "Oh yeah, I worked with this guy before." She knew everything about Destro.
Yeah.
So
Shady, definitely
yeah,
shady. And she was loyal to Destro and Cobra Commander in a weird way. One is a boyfriend, one is a leader. So yeah, a great character, another great character. Um, and I'm tempted to put her above number five, but number five is so freaking cool too. Dwark, number five, Major Blood. What a cool character. Great great military mind. That was his main thing. Australian. He was Australian, right? So he was just cool. Like he could lead the charge. He was a great just a military mind, a master military mind. And I don't remember if the comic or the cartoon, but he was originally hired to kill Destro. Cobra Commander didn't he knew Destro because Destro, we'll get to Destro later, but he was an opportunist, and Cobra Commander realized that. So Major Blow was a mercenary. Like he was like A team, but a bad member of the A team. You know what I mean? So that's how he was introduced. So tell me more about Major Blood.
well, you nailed it right on the head. Major Sebastian Blood. In the comics, yeah, he was hired to kill Destro by Cobra Commander. And who stopped him? the Baroness.
Baroness, right?
Baroness stopped him, but he still stayed on the payrolls because they knew he would be good for something. But also he was trained in all sorts of hand-to-hand warfare. He did a lot of shady shit over in Europe. But
Yeah.
one of the main things is that he did it in the comics books was, remember the TV show? There was always that Colonel Flag,
Yeah.
that head guy at G.I. Joe. Well, in the comic books, Major Blood was captured, and while he was escaping, he killed Colonel Flag.
They had no problem killing people in the comic books.
Oh no.
That's why I love the comic books. Like the cartoon was awesome, but the comic book was rough at times. Yeah.
The only other question I had about the figure is when we first got that figure, it was one of those mail-away figures. Now, if you look at the right arm, it doesn't move or anything. It's just one straight piece. I believe that was supposed to be a cybernetic arm.
Right.
But later on in the figures, he had a normal arm. So they never really did anything that was cybernetic or not.
Yeah, I always assumed he had a horrible injury, and that's why he had this arm. But you're saying later on the arm actually moved.
Yeah, and the other figures they had.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe technology improved and they made it more like, it kind of sucks like to be in a battle and you're like Ace Cowboy Bob Orton all the time, just walking in with the cast and banging it over people's heads. Like this is not very useful a lot in a lot of other situations. But no,
maybe Mindbender helped him out.
Maybe Mindbender did. Yeah, maybe he used his little weird ass machine on his arm, made him think he had an arm. But yeah, the eye patch, everything, awesome stuff. And now we're moving on to a guy we've already spoken about several times already, Storm Shadow. Now here's the deal with his figure. I have that, Snake Eyes and Destro. And I'm so brilliant. I hid them because they're my favorite. I hid them with my War Duke and my Grim Sword. Can't seem to find them right now, but I will find them once I go through the attic a little bit more. But so I don't have the Storm Shadow figure, but I brought out just a few comic books with him. That's a cool one. There was always question marks. You never know, like this. And who's assassinating Cobra Commander here? You're wondering. And Storm Shadow's right there, ready to protect them. Then they must have had a falling out, Destro and Storm. So very big in the comic books. All together, and we talked about like Ninja, and him and Snake Eyes. They were in the military. They fought together. They were friends. They were best friends. They took a brother blood oath, right? And Storm Shadow actually invited, I believe, Snake Eyes into his clan. Snake Eyes kind of excelled like fast, and Storm Shadow was going to leave, and then Snake Eyes like, no, I'll leave. Like and then who's the hard master paying the most attention to? So then all of a sudden the hard master gets assassinated, and they start blaming each other, and that's where a lot of the tension, I believe, came. Like there was some sibling type rivalry between the two, but I think the real tension came when the hard master was killed. They kind of blamed each other, but we found out later it was Zartan who did it. So these two were fun. So, but that Zartan doing that led Storm Shadow astray, and I think would eventually led him to Cobra, right? that's how he became a Cobra operative at that point? Carry on. I've said too much.
I always mess up his last name. His name was Tommy. I'm trying to think of like I said, I messed it up. It's the clan of the ninjas that.
The clan is Asakit. Yeah, Asakit. I don't know what it is.
Like either. A Rasikage or something.
Yeah.
I'm
something.
So you know what? From this point on, I'm just going to call it Clan A.
Clone. Okay, I'm good with that because I don't. I read the
Rasikage or something like that. So
yeah.
Like you said, he was. I want to say the Hard Master's nephew or something. He was next in line. He was dishonored because everybody everything pointed to him killing the Hard Master and all that. And like you said, it's like he fought with Snake Eyes in the war. And like you said, it was older comics, so everything was based around the Vietnam War. But I don't think Storm Shadow was an enlisted man. I think he was just like, just
one part of the crew, maybe. Yeah.
So And there was, I think, like the comic books have a better story. It's like Snake Eyes saved his life, he saved Snake Eyes' life. But like you
Yeah,
said, they were training together. They were brothers,
right.
and nobody knew nothing about this in the comic book until that one silent issue where you see that the clan tattoo that they have, or
Yes,
the ninja clan that they belong to.
right.
Storm Shadow had it exposed on his arm, and then the next like comic panel, you see Snake Eyes' uniform ripped, and you see that he has the same tattoo, and you're like,
Right.
whoa.
Right. And Snake Eyes didn't talk, so he's not telling anybody. Like
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? So it was the comic book. I think the comic book told us it's one of the best stories that the top comic book told, because it wasn't like a one-shot deal. They went to it, they left it, they came back to it. It was a good storyline that showed patience. And I really one of the best parts of the comics that I remember.
And keep this in mind, it was the 80s, so ninjas were freaking cool in the 80s.
You couldn't go wrong with ninjas. I always say that back
And
then.
like later on in the comic book line, Storm Shadow ended up joining GI Joe. He ended up like, he
Right.
rejoined GI Joe to regain his honor and all that. And then GI Joe started something called Ninja Force. It had him, Snake Eyes, a couple other new ninjas, and Storm Shadow was the leader of that ninja force.
Oh, he was the leader of that.
So that was cool.
He made his way up quickly. Yeah, I remember he had a, as they would say in wrestling, a face turn towards the end there, and gained his honor back. That's awesome. Good for Storm Shadow. And eventually when we do the good guys, we're going to be talking about Snake Eyes too. But for now, we're talking bad guys, and you don't get much badder than this next guy. Zartan. Awesome character, awesome figure. He would actually change colors based off of temperature. You would get like blue and green and this and that. And in the comic book, awesome too. And who did he lead? He led our favorite guys, which we're going to do a podcast just on these guys, probably a month or something from now. The Dreadnoks, who were my absolute favorite part of the comics, everything. These guys, they were kind of goofballs in the cartoon, but even then they were cool. They were awesome in the cartoon. But Zartan led these guys, and he didn't put up with any shit, Zartan. And he was kind of like, he had the ability to transform into anybody, their voice, their anything, which is a great trait to have when you're trying to gain world domination. You can become a president. You can be anybody you want. I found it funny. Dwork, show the next lot for the action figure. What's the action figure? This is their idea of disguising him. Look at him. It's like Jesus Christ, right? Like it looks like he's disguising himself as the Son of God. Like that's going to be hard to swing. I don't care how good Zartan is. It's going to be hard to convince people that you're Jesus, right? But you come into a room and everyone's like, "Oh, look, it's Jesus. That's, awesome. Everything's going to be fine." And he's like, "No, it's Zartan. All hell breaks loose." So I guess it could have worked in that direction.
Maybe he was hanging out with the Ewoks.
Maybe he was hanging out with the Ewoks. What the Twerk's,
Okay.
what the hell is he? What are you talking about? What Twerk, explain. What do the Ewoks have to do with
His head covering.
Okay. Now I look at it. I wish I had a little wicket in front of me to compare. But I think he's right. I think he might have killed an Ewok for that outfit. I don't know how Zartan got that little head covering, but yeah, that's very Ewok like. But I always found it hilarious, that little face, because that face. I mean, Hannibal Lecter looked more real when he put somebody else's face on him and stuck his tongue through than that Zartan figure. But awesome figure though, don't get me wrong. The color changed, but that little plastic face, it was funny to me. What do you got on Zartan? Tell me more about Zartan, Master of Disguise, leader of the Dreadnoks.
Well, you hit it right on the nose where he leads the Dreadnoks, and they were your favorite group growing up. They were my favorite group. Mm-hmm. And like you're holding up the comic books. I recently bought like a couple first appearances of the Dreadnoks, which was awesome. But the funniest thing about him is the back package of the toy card. Like every G.I. Joe had like a file card or whatever.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The toy file card stated that he was a paranoid schizophrenia with multiple personality disorders.
Oh,
Well,
he seemed to have his shit together. I don't believe that.
oh yeah, but the mental health organization at the time complained to Hasbro and had them change it.
Oh,
And,
'cause
like,
it was given diagnosis a bad
mhm.
name of schizophrenia. I got you. All right.
But like you said, he was uh, the master of disguise, everything. He could change his voice. It's like he was one of the most sneakiest people ever to work for Cobra. And then Cobra hires him, and here he has his own group of a biker gang that goes in there, and basically Cobra hired them to destroy a town, and then they would just take over the town.
Yeah, Springfield was their main headquarters, right? They used to the nice normal town of Springfield. It was always like the basic town they put in the for the cartoons. But no, you're right. Like when Cobra got like a lot of these guys are really cool, but Zartan might be the best. You get the most for your money with him because you get him, you get the biker gang, you get the whole crew.
And he was even like, remember I last talking about Storm Shadow, I mentioned Ninja Force.
Hmm.
He was part of Cobra's Ninja Force because remember he was with that with the Ninja Clan
Yeah,
that he killed the Hard Master.
yeah.
Well, he was disguised as Blind Master there for a while, so he must have picked up a few tricks to be a ninja.
Oh, okay, right. Just by hanging out. Like
But
when like when Mark Wahlberg and the other guys learns ballet just to make fun of the other guy doing ballet. He learns it to a T. That's Zartan. He's like there to make fun of the ninjas. All of a sudden he's like the perfect ninja just to mock them.
and
Okay.
I don't have a complete backstory on Zartan because it
They
keeps
don't either.
changing. Because yeah, it keeps changing. It's like
Yeah.
the only thing you know is he has a brother and sister, Zorana and
Mhm.
Xander,
Right.
and they're in the Dreadnoks. But other stories say that they were Zack and Zeta or Zack
Wow.
and Zelda, and you just
He's a man of mystery.
yeah, you just don't know about Zartan. That's what
Yeah.
makes him dangerous. So
But we're going to delve into all those characters for the Dreadnought one because there's a whole bunch of them. Monkey Wrench, Torch. Yeah, they're awesome group. Um, number two, this guy, oh God, he still creeps me out looking at him. He's just a scary individual with his silver mask. And I put him as number two. He's more of a weapons dealer, right? I think he'll go whatever side pays him the most money. That's the key. So he's not Cobra Commander's most loyal guy, but I feel like he has the brains behind a lot of the operations they do. Baroness in some way is really the number two, but I look at Destro as the number two in some ways because as long as it's the money's in it for him, I think he offers the most to Cobra Commander. Weapons dealer. Oh, and that's why I wrote that. He led a very rich lifestyle. Like he was like Flair, limousine ride and jet flying. He was living the lifestyle, with the Baroness. But I know he comes from a long line of Destros. Like he is not the first Destro. Like he's from a family that's been dealing weapons for a long time. And from what I understand, the mask was an actual punishment that he had, like, I don't know, his great grandfather had to wear because they got caught dealing weapons to both sides. And that was strongly frowned upon, even though everybody knew they were doing it. So they had to wear the mask as a punishment. But later on, you look at the mask, it's cool as shit. They wear it with pride now. They're like, yeah, that's right. I'm that Destro. I do that type of shit. So I just think he's one of the coolest figures I had. And that's why I don't have him right now because I hid him in my cool figure section. But as you can see, I mean, he's got snake eyes on the ground. He's just he doesn't play. He doesn't play. Tell me about Destro from your point of view.
like you said, his name's James McGowan. I want to say like what you said.
Like
I
the
think
16th or the 7th, yeah, something,
I
right?
think he's up to like 35 or something like
Holy
that.
God, wow.
Like there's so many of them. Like even in the comic books, like people didn't realize because of that mask, his own son was masquerading around him as the Destro.
Right.
But like you said, he was the weapons the weapons dealer. He was the one to go to. It's like, I need a gun for a fight. He goes, oh, I give you a gun, or I give you this. I could
He had
I'll give you
everything.
whatever to win. He always saved the best weapons and technology for himself.
Smart.
He was the one that, remember, he was the one that created the HISS tank, and back in Cobra, that really revolutionized their ground war.
Right. Oh, so he designed the HISS tank?
Yes,
That's cool.
and like you said, he's a mercenary. He would hire like Zartan. He would hire like the Dreadnoks to go in somewhere, or just hire different armies to stir the shit up, just so he could sell weapons.
The both
And then,
sides.
and
Yeah.
Looks
then
like
that's what
he
happened. He would sell
looks
the
like he
weapons.
designs jewelry.
What are you talking about? His arm bracelets? Oh, and he's got a nice pendant.
Nice necklace.
Nice little necklace on.
Actually, that pendant, like according to the comics and according to the toy archives, that pendant is actually, he's so proud of what he does, is his family crest.
In your face, Dwork. You tried to be a dick about Destro, and Sexton just Sexton just gave you the history of that necklace.
Yeah, they all say it's a family crest.
Mr. Fancy guy over there with his necklace and his nice silver hat, his nice silver helmet. Looks like he needs a tetanus shot.
But the other thing is, like, he does have a sense of honor. It's like he respects G.I. Joe for the way they fight and all, but the one thing you don't respect, he doesn't expect, why are they fighting for peace? Why are they doing this? How come they're not turning a profit up from it?
He doesn't even understand that. Yeah, it doesn't even compute in his metal brain, his metal head. But yeah, and then you got, well, I'm not going to show that comic yet, but said it all night, another great character. That's why there's 10 of them. Like, I can't discount any of these guys for the amount that they brought to it. But I think we know. Oh, one more thing about Destro. Remember he had the gold helmet?
Yes, I was gonna wait on that one. That was when he, in the comics, where he finally had enough of Cobra Commander, finally had enough of G.I. Joe. He had his own group called the Iron Grenadiers. That's what they were. Okay. And he had his own general, his own foot soldiers, everything. Where it's like all of a sudden, like in the late 80s, you had all these like futuristic weapons come by,
right?
And you thought they were Cobra? No, they're Destro.
All Destro.
Like he had like the AirPods. He had his own little flying air chariot that came up and hooked onto his own tank.
Yeah, I saw that because I was looking through the comics and I was getting some good Destro comics. And I saw gold helmet Destro, and I'm like, it's been so long since I read them. I'm like, I don't remember why the hell he has a gold helmet, but that was pretty cool. But that was it. He set himself apart even further from Cobra. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. Before we get to number one, I'm just going to go over some other things that people mentioned. Like I said, I put it out to 80s Toy page on Facebook, and people had some good stuff. We had Chris A brought up. He said Major Blood, which we said, but also Wild Weasel. There you go. Remember Wild Weasel. James S. Pretty much our top 10: Destro, Storm Shadow, Serpentor, Twins, Cobra Commander. Brian P., who will be on a week or two from now doing Dungeons and Dragons with us. He talked about, he used to bury Zartan in the snow, and he would see how long it took for his color to come back. I'm glad Zartan made it. Fred C., great longtime fan, top 5. All the ones we nailed pretty much. But some honorable mentions, he said Copperhead, Bat, Snow Serpent, Wild Weasel. I agree. Great figures. John L., pretty much our top 10. Very good Destro in them. Gary, our top 10. He pretty much nailed all them, but he also included Bat. That's always been a big figure. The old BAT, right? That's always been a classic figure. Justin, Blood, Destro, Serpentor. Nick, who will be doing Garbage Pail Kids with us eventually. He liked Storm Shadow, Destro, Serpentor. But here's one I completely forgot about when I was thinking about Raptor. Remember with the Falcon and everything? That's a cool figure. My other friend from work, Pat, he says, I think Stringer Bell was modeled after Destro. Remember The Wire? Here's The Wire. That's awesome. And then John R., Destro and Baroness, no question. Love the twins. Viper pilots are cool. Dr. Mindbender's robot soldiers. And then we got Zen. You know Zen. We went to school with Zen too. Cobra Commander, Serpentor, Zartan, Firefly, and then Copperhead. Copperhead was one I was absolutely thinking of. And we brought up Crocmaster. So close, so close. But it was hard. I mean, just narrowing it down to top 10 was hard. But thank you, everybody, for your input. But you know what time it is? It's time for number one. And you know who number one is. It's Cobra Commander. It's got to be. Such a different character from the cartoon and the comics. I mean, the cartoon, oh Jesus. I feel like we're being threatened, Dork and Paul, call the authorities.
When you discuss a character like this, you have to have a mask.
Isn't that Al Qaeda or what's going on?
I think it might be the Taliban calling, from a cave somewhere. I don't know what's going on here, but holy shit! I thought it was frightening when I came in with that big photon red helmet. Shit, this takes the cake. This takes the cake. Look at you over there. But I love it though. Like I love that the Cobra mouth is right where your mouth is. That's hysterical. You're fully decked out over there, Cobra. So Cobra Commander, I don't remember where the hell I was going. Oh, in the cartoon, you know what he was like? He kind of reminded me of like a Skeletor almost. Like he was comedy relief at times. He was so crazy. It was silly sometimes, but he had great ideas for horrible things. The mass device, like I said, the weather dominator, all that sort of stuff. So he had great ideas. But in the comic, he was a little bit more ruthless. Not portrayed as much of a joke, and someone's always trying to assassinate him. They had his own son, Billy. Remember little Billy tried to assassinate? Like there was so many things in the comic, and it was always like, who's the man behind the mask? This is a classic comic book issue where you have Destro and you got Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes taking their mask off. What a teaser to show to people. And you had the Silver Face, obviously the most well known, but then you had the hooded figure. So I have the original, but the hooded one, you actually had to mail away for this. And that always touched a part of my heart, like the Emperor, when you mailed away for the Emperor or this. And don't get me wrong, you could mail away for Major Blood before he became like online. You told me that before, but eventually he was in stores. This, you mailed away for it. And when it came in the mail, he had some kind of goofy eyeballs though, right? Like the hooded one, it could have been a little cooler, but look at those eyes on the hooded one, a little goofy looking. But it was so cool to get stuff in the mail like that, and it made the figure. And then you had this third one who I don't know. I was never into this, kind of like a spaceman suit. And he was so like sought after to assassinate. He always in the comics had different guys playing him and stuff to kind of throw people off. I mean, we talked about earlier, Major Blood, Destro. Everybody was like trying to kill him at one point. Storm Shaft. Everybody was out there. His own son. It wasn't easy being Cobra Commander, is what I'm trying to say. But what a funny character in the cartoon. It was just you can never forget that voice. Him and Skeletor, their voices, they're stuck in your childhood brain until the day you die. Brian, tell me more.
Well, like you said, the cartoon was great. It's like if I took any drawback from it, they always played Cobra Commander as an idiot. Yeah. And he wasn't. It's one of these where it's like you don't want to be like all nerds, but you want to be like, dude, pick up a comic book, read.
Yeah.
It's like,
see him for what he is.
One of my favorites, like there's like a comic book panel where it's like he's ruthless and all that, and just has him like there was a dog in his way, and you just see the comic book. You just see him like, just kick the dog, and you see the dog flying in the air, and it's like, dude, that's how ruthless this guy was. And it's like, there's so many different backstories on him. One backstory is, oh, well, he was a used car salesman, unhappy with this, unhappy with that.
That'll do it.
And another backstory was he was a military strategist who got bored keeping the peace when he could see like, well, the world went according to me, my way. I could do everything a lot better.
Right.
And it was just all mixed up. And
he was sick, yeah. He was sick in the brain, yeah.
And like you said, it's like
don't forget the other backstory. He's a Pac-Man ghost with a human body.
It's a Pac-Man ghost with a human. What? Because of the helmet? Jork, you started off so strong tonight, so strong. You had Sinead O'Connor, you had a 90210 reference, but at the end, you're talking about Cobra Commander. as a Pac-Man ghost with a human body?
You can't tell me he's not.
Oh, he's talking about the
Oh,
hooded one.
he's right. Jork, my apologies. Jork, you're 4 for 4 tonight. I'm thinking about the mirrored face one. But yeah, he's Inky Blinky, or he's one of them. Look at it. Yeah, look at him.
Apology accepted.
Inky, Blinky, or Snaky?
I'm glad we're friends again. It was close. It was a close call there. But no, you're right. He does. He looks like he looks like one of the Pac-Man ghosts. And those big goofy eyes, I can't get over them. They couldn't do those eyes better. Unbelievable. So anything else about Cobra Commander, Brian?
Like you said, the first one with the silver plate,
Yeah.
that was the first one originally was a mail-in. He was that silver plate one was a mail-in, except you got him when he was straight arms. He didn't have the swivel arms.
And right, it was straight armed. Yes.
Later on, it's like the Cobra Commander, the hooded one, whereas the work says the Pac-Man Ghost Face one. He was a mail away, and they never. Normally, what they do with mail aways is like, okay, we told you guys to buy, you did. So like a year or two later, they released them on the shelves. Right. But the hooded Cobra Commander never was released on the shelves.
I love that. That made me feel so special as a kid. Awesome. And like I said, that third one, it just never thrilled me. That third one with the blue and the.
I only dug that because of the comic book backstory where it was a battle armor. Yeah, and then that he hid like the Crimson Guard, Fred 7 was pretending to be Cobra Commander.
Right, I forgot about yes.
And that's why you have that battle armor.
Great story.
And I think I forget who in the comic book knew. I knew Baroness knows, but Baroness knows everything about Cobra.
Right, whether he knows it or not. Yeah.
Only reason she let him go is because he wouldn't cross her. And then that's how people started figuring out, is this a real Cobra Commander?
Right.
Because he's always agreeing.
Right.
And I'm not sure. It's like I forget where Destro was at in the comic books at that point.
At that point, yeah, I'm not sure either. But yeah, like I said, there was different Cobra Commanders like throwing people off in the like because while the one's healing, the other one's so I think I might reread them. Yeah. It's the one comic book that I have. Like I either have all of them or I end up going back and buying the reissues. Remember they came out with the miniature ones that had maybe 2 or 3 comic books in them. Like it would have issue 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 in it. I have those. Plus you had the yearbooks. I loved the G.I. Joe yearbooks. You had the Special Forces. There was so many different spinoffs. We're going to do one on just the comic books one point. I could easily go off on these comic books for another half hour, but I think we covered just about everything, right, Brian? I mean, I can't. Jork. I think we got everything. Even Jork.
Yeah, we covered it.
Yeah, we covered it. Yeah, thank you, Jork. So, Jork, hit that last slide. So much like every Cobra trooper with a parachute, when their rattler gets blown to pieces, we're out of here. How convenient was that? How convenient, no matter what. They must have had a million parachutes, been like common. Nobody ever got blown up. They were out of there, and so are we. So thank you, Brian, as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you're going to be on a lot more. Jork, thank you for really being a contribution tonight rather than a detriment to society. That was nice.
Oh, anytime.
Oh, good. And Paul, behind the scenes, always thank you so much for all the help you do. There he is. And guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Very important. We're getting the views. We're getting a lot of hours, people watching, and it makes me thrilled that you're in the comments. I love it. But the subscriptions, man, I have an easier time splitting the atom. If I'm going to be honest with you, you got to sign into YouTube. You got to hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. It means the world to Brian. Dork probably even like you. But that's it, everybody. So we will see you next week when I have Sean back, Sean Hill. And we're going to talk about the top 5 most inappropriate toys ever made. The most controversial episode ever. I'll see you guys then. Take care, everybody.